Good morning and happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chump Change. This is live and recorded. For those of you that might be new here, what we typically do is go over crypto news or news in general in the space. I update myself, bring you guys along for the ride. Let's see who's in the house, and we'll get into this. Mr. Leo Lustig, good morning to you as well. Andrew Masad, C. Otter Mining, good to see you, buddy. Carl Coate, Nick K. We have Black Hat Team, good morning, sir. Kyle Rosa, Carl Coate, might already said that. Savage White, good to see you, buddy. Broskis, what's up, man? Good to see you. Dan R, good morning. Deborah, good morning. Kirk, good to see you, buddy. Crypto Mikkel, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Mr. Rud Puts, good to see you. Everybody else I may have missed, I apologize. Let's get into it. Bitcoin, $72,200. Are we gonna break an all-time high this week? What do you guys think? This is crazy to see 72,000 again.
Perfect.
We have Ethereum at 2670, Solana 175 bucks, XRP is at 52 cents, ADA at 35 cents. We have LTC over here at 71.60. Not bad, not bad. We have Near Protocol at $4.32. ETC is at 19.5. Caspa's in the deep red. What in the hell's going on? 10.5 cents, down 10.43%. Good buying opportunity in my opinion. Let's see, ICP $8 over here, if anybody cares about that one. Let's see, anything else jumping out at me? What's this one? What's down here? Maker 1,213 bucks, up 8.54%. Interesting. Let's see, Dogecoin 16, almost 17 cents. Look at that, damn. We have Cult, we have a new Cult here, up 1,200%. What the hell is Cult? I've never heard of that coin. Weird, that must have just popped into the top 100. CRE over here, this is that carry. I don't know what this is, but it's that new one that's been pumping. 15% today to 42 cents. Interesting. BNB is at 598 bucks. Let's see, BitTensor's at $509, actually down 6.69% today. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Crypto bubbles pop over here. Man, biggest loser of the day is Caspa. What is going on?
Bruh.
Oh man, 10.5% down. SPX is down 9.8% as well to 89 cents. BitTensor third place, 7.1%. Hex is actually the biggest earner of the day, 14.5% up. If anybody's into this one, it's a penny and a half just about. Maker is right behind that, 8.4% up. Yeah, nothing else really jumping out at me. Everything else seems pretty normal, to be honest. All right, flashbang, fear and greed index, we got a 77. That's not that good. I mean, that's really good in a sense, but it's also scary because when things go this fast, we usually have a sharp pullback. But I guess we're gonna have to see. 77, extreme greed. Yesterday it was at 72, so I did say it was gonna be over 75 today, and I was obviously right. This is yeah, I don't know, hopefully the needle can stay here throughout the rest of the year. That'd be nice. But again, be fearful when people are greedy and be greedy when people are fearful. That is the issue. Douglas Hand, yeah, I would say Cas was probably oversold. I haven't looked in a couple days, but yeah, probably. I've been super busy. Over here, CoinGecko, we have top 10 coins by coin market cap. Let's see, starting with Bitcoin at a $1.42 trillion market cap. We got Ethereum, Tether, BNB, Solana, USDC, XRP, Lado Staked Ether, Dogecoin, and Tron in 10th place at a $14.5 billion market cap. Cardano is a little bit behind that in 12th place at a $12.6 billion market cap. It's actually 2 billion behind, just under 2 billion. Litecoin holding 24th place over here, 5.3 billion market cap. We got Ethereum Classic with a $2.9 billion market cap over here in 35th place, and Caspa is now in 40th place.
Bruh.
10 is that again, 10.5 cents at a $2.6 billion market cap. Let's see, render's at 53rd place over here, $5 to the $1.2 billion market cap. Sorry, 1.9. I said 1.2. I meant to say almost a $2 billion market cap. All right, anyways, moving on to the mining segment of things. I want to get into the new stuff today. Started a little bit late. It's been rough getting up the last couple days after doing this shed, man. I'm dying. We got over here Most profitable miner. Let me just refresh this quick. Make sure. All right, look at that. Yeah, I figured. The Bitmain Antminer L9 17 gigahash unit takes the first place, making 23.94 a day. We got the AL1 Pro over here, 16.6 terahash unit, making 23.76, just behind the L9. Let's see what lithium's looking like quick. Up 5.63% to $1.31. $1.31. Interesting. It's age. Things are only gonna hurt more. Nah, Dan, I've been freaking killing myself though. When you guys see it, when you see how much I've done in the past less than a week, it's crazy. But yeah, $1.31, not too bad. 7 days was down to $1.10 yesterday. No, 2 days ago. 28th. 2 days ago. Not too bad. Could be worse. All right, the L9 16 gigahash unit, $22.53. That is in third place over here on Mine the ASIC. Sorry, ASIC miner value. The AL1 15.6 terahash unit, making $22.31 a day. The AL3 15 terahash unit, making $21.16. Again, this is at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. After you pay your electric, that's your profit. All right, the L7, I want to see, you guys know I got this thing, my 9050 down at Terra Hosting. Shout out to them if you're interested in hosting. Link is in the description. My 9050 is making $9.09 a day. Things are profitable for 3 years. Mr. 10 minutes to midnight, appreciate you for becoming a VIP. Thank you so much. You're awesome. Make sure you link your Discord with YouTube and you'll get access to my VIP chat. And I actually dropped some pictures of the shed that I've been building. Yeah, no, this machine, the L7, does not let me down. $9 a day is crazy, and 85% of that's in Doge, the rest is in Litecoin, so could be worse. Yeah, nothing really else nothing else got me going over here. the rest is pretty shit. Dude, the KS0 Ultra, oh my god, it's in the negative. It's down 3 cents, 10 cents per kilowatt hour. You guys know I can mine with these things for free from the sun, but yeah, if you're paying electricity 10 cents, you're losing money now. Bruh. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. We need alt season. It'll happen eventually. Who knows when, but it will happen after the Bitcoin rise. All right, GPUs. Aleo seems to be top of the charts. Oh, look at this warthog coin. I haven't seen anything about that in a while on the BC250. Interesting. Aleo seems to be taking the top of the charts though for everything else. Xano, Able, a little bit on the 170HX and the 7900 XT. We have Clore as well. Yeah, you guys are mostly looking at Aleo. Mostly looking at Aleo. Let's just see where this project's at, or where the price is at. It's actually down 2.96%, or it says down 3.1 over here. $1.45. Been real choppy, but it's been going down. Been going down. Obviously, people taking profits, which I would be doing too, which makes sense. All right, let's move on to the news segment of things. I want to get into this stuff. I know we started late. I apologize. NVIDIA is leaps and bounds ahead of AMD on the AI story. I'm not even going to try to say that. That's, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, let's get into it.
Our next guest expects AMD to boost its AI revenue outlook for the full year, but cautious that buy-side sales estimates for its AI accelerators are too high for the next year. So joining us with that story is Christopher Rowland, semiconductor analyst over at Susquehanna Financial Group, covers the industry in depth. Christopher, let's talk about whether or not this AMD catch-up trade is something that could have legs, and what does Lisa Su need to tell investors today to make it happen?
Yeah, investors need to get comfort around double-digit MI300 billions of sales. And if she can paint that picture, I think that catch-up trade, at least that margin, will start to narrow between the two. But NVIDIA is leaps and bounds above AMD on this AI story.
Okay, if they're leaps and bounds above them, that means there has to be a technological leap forward in order for AMD hardware, its processors, to then be competitive with the likes of NVIDIA. It has to be the case, or this becomes a one-horse race. What does AMD have to do?
Yeah, so believe it or not, on the actual processors themselves, the MI300 and next gen 325 are absolutely incredible. They're really, really solid pieces of hardware. The problem is that AMD does not have software in the same respects that NVIDIA has CUDA, which is the de facto standard that people are doing processing AI on today. Additionally, AMD does not have a systems approach just yet. They bought ZT Systems in hopes of closing that gap, but they're still far away. So on hardware, they're coming close to matching, actually at a price discount, but missing on software and systems.
Christopher, I have a question that dates me, because I can remember back when Intel was AMD's major competitor back in the 90s, and they got so far ahead that the question wasn't whether AMD had just as good technology. The question was, why would these companies that invested billions in this Intel, or in this case, NVIDIA's chip, why would they ever switch? Because even if it was just as good, even if it was a little cheaper, so isn't AMD really fighting an uphill battle, even if they have as good technology?
Yeah, the difference here is not, let's say, 20% in a PC CPU or even 50% in a server CPU. This is almost an order of magnitude difference between the two processors, an MI300 and, let's say, latest Blackwell from NVIDIA. That gap will likely close over time. It will take some time, and the key here is really software. AMD has to get a lot better with their software.
Okay. Christopher Rowland covers the chip sector. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon, sir.
All right. That was it. Moving on. A Trump win would mean protective policies for tech companies. Let's see what they got to see over here on CNBC television.
There are several names across the tech, media, and telco space in particular that could see big moves depending on the outcome. One of those groups is the gig stocks like Uber. That was our mystery chart. And our guest here says something Kamala Harris did in 2020 could pose risk for the sector if she gets elected. Let's bring in Paul Gallant. He's a managing director and TMT policy analyst at TD Cowen. Paul, welcome to you. And this goes back to the classification of workers. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. For most of the time the gig companies have existed, their drivers have been classified as independent contractors, which means they have a lot of freedom in when they show up and when they don't show up. But it also means the companies don't have to pay them as many benefits, overtime, minimum wage, healthcare benefits, whatnot. And so the sort of standard Democratic Party position has been, we want to shift more of the economics from the companies to the workers. And so back in 2019, Kamala Harris, when she ran for president, said she supported some California legislation that would basically shift some economics from the companies to the workers, from the drivers. So if she were to kind of win the election and stick with that position, that would be a bit of an issue for the gig companies.
Do you see that kind of threat on the horizon, generally speaking?
Well, she'll get a lot of pressure from Democrats in Congress. I don't know whether she's going to follow through on it or not. I sort of doubt it's anywhere near the top of her priority list. In fact, if I had to guess, I would guess she probably doesn't have her Labor Department aggressively pursue this issue through lawsuits against the gig companies. But I know that it's going to be something the companies are going to be on top of. And you can almost say sometimes the threat of regulation is regulation. If the companies know that this is a possibility, that the Labor Department might try to do something, companies have a way of sort of internally adjusting and shifting some economics to the drivers. Let's
shift to some of the kind of Mag 7 type names, the big internet platforms they're reporting this week. Why do you think that Trump would be materially better for that group than Harris would be? And while you say she would be better still than Biden, and how could anyone be better than Biden when these stocks are up, hundreds of percentages in recent years? All the
Is Biden even still alive? Anybody seen him?
DOJ investigations notwithstanding.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a but for. I mean, maybe it would have been up even more without some of the aggressive policy activity by Biden against them. But the way I think about it is Trump is instinctively deregulatory. And, for years, the big internet companies have been pushing a narrative in Washington that you want strong national champions like Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, et cetera, to beat China. And just recently, actually, former President Trump actually seemed to embrace that view. He was asked whether we should break up Google, which is something that the current DOJ is pushing for. And he said, no, we need a strong Google to beat China. And I put some weight on that statement because we kind of know that China is a big issue for President Trump if he gets reelected. And he really does view these 5 or 6 big U.S. tech companies as allies of his against China. That really changes how he treats them in Washington. And I think that was a pretty meaningful, positive set of comments from Trump.
Sure. And so others would say, look, these stocks compared to 2021, their performance has been less outstanding with the exception of NVIDIA, which brings us to what might happen in the semi space. Are the risks similar or opportunities similar for stocks like NVIDIA, regardless of who wins?
This is a trickier area to predict, honestly, Kelly, for me than the internet companies because it's so personality driven. And again, as we've seen, at least with Trump, it's very transactional, the way he uses the different international policy levers like export controls. For example, years ago, he put ZTE, a big Chinese telecom company, on the entity list, mainly to get leverage over China to do a trade deal. And then he took him off the entity list when China did what he wanted. So there's going to be more volatility.
That is what I heard that the whole tariff thing's about. It's about threatening them with tariffs so they cooperate and do exactly what he wants them to do with, doing business with the U.S. That's what I understand from watching. If you guys didn't see Anthony Pompliano's video, I'll find it and put it in the chat. It was like a 2-hour long thing with this guy that's working alongside Trump somehow. I don't even know his name, to be honest, but he explained this whole tariff thing and how it was like worked in the benefits of the U.S. and it was never like actually put through. It was just kind of a threat, like he did it to the Mexican border. He told them if they didn't secure the border, he was going to hit them with tariffs, and then they upped their security and held down the 10 miles that we didn't put the wall up so far. They actually secured that way better because he threatened them with tariffs.
And export controls if Trump wins. I think the key thing is that if Trump wins, he's going to have some people around him that are going to say, look, Biden did a decent effort at doing export controls to slow down China on AI, but he didn't do enough. There's a huge gray market, and we in the Trump administration need to do more. And that's going to be a tough decision for Trump because that will affect the market and the stocks, but it would sort of give us a little bit more power over China. So he's going to have a tough call to make if he is back in the White House.
We should go, Paul, but is there anything, it's 10 p.m. on election night, and you're sitting at your Bloomberg screens at home or whatever might be happening, and you see the outcome or the way things are going. Is there an immediate gut move on the space that you cover, if it's Harris, if it's Trump, or if it's unclear?
I really think Trump has separated himself on the mega cap tech companies from VP Harris. If he wins, I just instinctively feel a lot better for those companies over the next 4 or 5 years. Investors are going to have to get comfortable with random tweets and statements that sound pretty bad about some of these companies. But I think the policy instincts of Trump increasingly are to be as protective of them as possible, both for AI reasons and for beating China reasons.
All right, Paul, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time today.
His name over on Anthony Pompliano was Howard Lutnick. I think that's how you say his name. But yeah, he was the guy kind of explaining the whole tariff thing. If you guys haven't seen it, I just put a link in the chat. Go check it out. It was like, I think at like the 14-minute mark or so to like the 20-minute mark, but the whole first hour was really like educational and not too bad. Crypto climbs before the election. Mr. Is that Endless Mining? Thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. You're awesome. He said, good morning, beautiful people. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. All right, let's see what they got to say again over here. CNBC television. Let's do it.
Welcome back to Power Lunch. We've got a crypto rally today as Bitcoin is just short of its all-time highs. Mackenzie Segala is joining us now with a look at kind of what's driving the trade. Is it really something that can be characterized as a so-called Trump trade?
Hey, Dom. So Bitcoin is trading at its highest point since March. It's up more than 5% in the last 24 hours, with Bitcoin's trading volume topping $31 billion and more than $224 million in short positions liquidated over that same window. Now, meanwhile, stocks tied to digital asset prices like Riot Platforms, Coinbase, and MicroStrategy are all rallying this morning, along with the wider crypto market, as Bitcoin breaks past that key 70K resistance level. Now, spot Bitcoin ETFs have also seen a surge of inflows, adding over $3.1 billion in just the last 2 weeks, bringing the total market cap of those funds to nearly $73 billion since they launched in January. I've been speaking with analysts, and they say that with 1 week to go until the general election here in the U.S., investors are increasingly bullish that no matter who wins, it will be a net benefit for the industry. And already, guys, we are seeing options traders increase bets that regardless of who takes the White House, Bitcoin is poised to hit that 80K mark this year.
Okay.
For what it's worth, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying this, but I saw Bill Miller last week. He was obviously been very bullish on Bitcoin. He's sort of, I don't know if we're going to use the word retired. You're never retired, as you know, in this game. And a lot of people have come up to him and said, look, you told us 10 years ago to buy this. Is it too late? And he said to them, Chris, I'm curious what you think, that it's like buying Amazon in 2014. Yes, it was up a lot from the IPO, but its big run was still to come.
I tend to agree with that. I mean, look, I'm of the age where people believed in gold in the 70s and 80s. And it is the gold for people 40 and under, and also Bill Miller and me. I mean, I do think it's a hedge against inflation. I do think there's limited supply. That's the whole gimmick. So don't scoff at it.
So, Mac, this is, you mentioned regardless of who wins, and that was part of your story. I would like to look at what happens beyond the election, right? Regardless of who wins. I'm not making a call, and I'm not saying Bitcoin is either. But what happens to the entire ecosystem? Is there a feeling like this is that 80,000, 90,000, 100,000? Some people are calling for Bitcoin 1 million in the course of the next 5 to 7 years. what does the outlook look like past the election?
Well, part of the reason why the industry raised $278 million, more than 18x what it raised in the 2020 election cycle, is because they're trying to put cash behind House and Senate candidates who are ultimately going to comprise the Congress that's going to pass some of these crypto bills into law. For years now, we've had different bills that have come to the floor. Nothing has been passed. And I can tell you that the first two line items on the congressional agenda are trying to repeal SAB 121, which is this niche accounting bulletin that's standing in the way of banks being able to custody cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and then passing FIT 21. Now, this is a market legislation bill that essentially would lay out jurisdictional authority between existing regulators like the SEC and the CFTC, and institutions say, hey, this is what we need to feel comfortable jumping into the ecosystem.
Well, and Coinbase, meanwhile, I mean, that's the other interesting play for those who work for the company or have owned the shares. They would love to see that. I mean, they're up, but they'd like to see it up kind of back towards the real highs.
Yeah, and I think that there are two big questions for Coinbase. One, the existential threat of these spot Bitcoin ETFs, because yes, they are a custody partner for these issuers, but ultimately it's taking some of their business. You know, you would otherwise store it on an exchange. The second question for Coinbase is they are in the midst of this, protracted litigation with the SEC. I spoke to Paul Garral, their chief legal officer, about an hour ago about the outcome of the election, and he's optimistic either way. He did show up at a Donald Trump fundraiser in June, held at David Sachs' home. But at the end of the day, I think that the question is, will there be turnover at the top of the SEC, regardless of who's in the White House? And what does that mean for existing litigation against Ripple, against Coinbase, against Robinhood?
Right. Will there be, sorry, real quickly, does he know if there's going to be turnover? I guess it depends, or?
Donald Trump has promised to unseat Chair Gensler if he wins. Kamala Harris has not come out and said that, but typically we do see a change in leadership when there's a turnover in the administration.
Yeah.
Chris, are your clients asking for crypto?
Yes, they're asking about it, and any asset that goes up as much as crypto, they're curious. Do you think that Trump or Harris will be better from a regulatory standpoint for crypto?
I think that with respect to the big institutions, they would like to see Donald Trump because they know what they're going to get at the SEC. And then with respect to the crypto investor, I think that regardless of who wins, they're very optimistic that we're going to see the kinds of bills passed that are going to open up the doors to institutional money. And that's really what the ecosystem needs to scale. They need a lot of Wall Street cash onboarded into crypto.
Yeah. Mac, thank you very much.
Good questions. Yeah, Trump will definitely be better for crypto, but overall, I mean, the price is going to rise regardless. Crypto company Consensus cuts 20% of the workforce, citing regulatory uncertainty. Let's see what they got to say over here on CNBC Crypto World.
Today, Bitcoin touches its highest levels since April as crypto investors get more optimistic about the U.S. election. And with a week until Election Day, we talked to Coinbase's Paul Garral about efforts to court crypto voters.
That's the lawyer for Coinbase. Or as the legal officer or whatever.
Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Mackenzie Sigalos. Bitcoin riding high this morning as the cryptocurrency crosses $72,000 for the first time since April. Now, by noon Eastern, Bitcoin rose 5.8%, while Ether gained nearly 6%, hitting $2,600. Solana also jumping a more modest 4.2%, but hit $180. At the same time as the crypto rally, crypto stocks are also riding the wave of optimism, with MicroStrategy, Coinbase, and Riot all trending higher this morning. Grayscale Investments' Zach Pandal told CNBC this morning that many things are going right for crypto, such as a soft landing for the economy, rate cuts, and positive regulatory changes, regardless of who wins the U.S. election. Okay, let's talk about the top stories. Consensus, the crypto firm backing the Ethereum network and the maker of the DeFi wallet MetaMask, is cutting staff. The company put out a blog post this morning announcing a 20% cut to its staff, citing macroeconomic pressures and regulatory uncertainty. The SEC was of particular focus in the announcement, where CEO Joe Lubin called out what he says is abuse of power by the agency. He pointed to multiple legal challenges from the regulator, including a lawsuit involving Consensus itself, and he also pointed to Congress's, quote, inability to rectify the problem. Still, Lubin said cuts to staff would shore up Consensus's financial stability, and the firm would continue its commitment to decentralization. All right, let's talk more about the SEC and crypto rulemaking for our main story. It's exactly 7 days until the 2024 U.S. presidential election, and crypto PACs are working in the final stretch to push voters to back pro-crypto candidates up and down the ballot and across the country. Stand With Crypto and Fairshake, two of the largest crypto interest groups, have funded candidates on both sides of the aisle in the hopes of filling Congress and the White House with politicians who will pass a crypto regulatory framework. I spoke to Paul Garral, the chief legal officer of Coinbase, about these crypto interest groups' role in the election and where things stand with 7 days to go.
Real quick, thank you so much, Mr. Crypto Frank, for the $9.99 super chat. He said, have a coffee on me. Thanks for always providing the news in the morning. I said it before, it makes the drive to the office much easier. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much for the super chat. You're awesome.
Okay, so there are exactly 7 days to go until the election, and just this past weekend, you were in Ohio for a concert with the Black Keys, specifically as part of a Stand With Crypto, Get Out the Vote rally. Now, we've also seen Fairshake, another PAC that Coinbase has backed, pour millions of dollars into that Ohio Senate race. So, Paul, with a week to go, where do things stand in this Ohio race from the PAC's perspective, and what's the closing message as we head toward Election Day?
Well, Mackenzie, I think what we're seeing in Ohio, just like all across the country, is that the millions of Americans who have now owned cryptocurrencies, digital assets, are all saying one thing, which is they want to see crypto in their future, and they want to see legislation passed by the Senate and by the Congress as a whole to make that happen. Ohio has 1.3 million Americans who fall into that category, and I think that the candidates for office in that state, like candidates all across the country, need to pay attention if they want to get elected.
Now, there has been some criticism that, this is a lot of money to sway races for an issue that many Americans don't feel great about. A Pew Research poll came out just a few days ago that said, around 63% of Americans have little to no confidence that crypto is reliable or safe in its current form. How do you square those two issues when asking voters to vote for a pro-crypto candidate?
Well, I think what voters have made very clear is they want their candidates to be responsive to their issues. And what I think Fair Shake and Stand With Crypto together have shown is that for a certain percentage of voters, crypto is on that list. Now, it may not be that millions of Americans are only going to vote on crypto in this upcoming election, but enough of them are going to consider each candidate's position on the FIT21 market structure bill, sensible rules for stablecoins, and so on and so forth in picking their candidates. And in swing states where elections can be decided by a handful of voters, candidates need to pay attention. And that's why we think this campaign has been so effective. And it's why Coinbase has been so proud to support it from the very beginning.
I also want to ask you about backing of candidates by party. Stand With Crypto and Fair Shake do support candidates on both sides of the aisle, but on the presidential side, it's clearly favored Donald Trump, as he's been pretty outspoken about his support for the industry. I know that Fair Shake has only been donating to congressional races, but in terms of where crypto PAC money is going. But Kamala Harris hasn't been super specific, but she has expressed support for digital assets recently. Does that change your calculus on support for the Harris campaign? And have you had any conversations with her team?
Well, we have had many conversations with the Harris team, just as we've had a number of conversations with the team supporting former President Trump. And what I think we're hearing from both campaigns is they get it. They understand that in swing state after swing state, there are enough voters who care about crypto that the candidate and their campaigns need to give voice to the concerns of those voters in supporting sensible rules for crypto, sensible legislation coming out of Congress. And that's very encouraging. It is absolutely the case that President Trump has been more explicit and perhaps came earlier to this pro-crypto view. But Vice President Harris has made a number of statements that recognize that an innovation agenda requires an agenda focused on promoting sensible rules for crypto as much as any other technology. So that's why, from our perspective, regardless of who wins in the presidential race in terms of the candidates, crypto wins, because we've now gotten to the point where crypto is in the conversation and on the agenda of each candidate, which means we're going to see progress come January.
Now, just today, your CEO, Brian Armstrong, said that the next SEC chair even owes the American people an apology. Obviously, regulation could take a while, especially if we see changes in party power in both chambers of Congress. But is the SEC becoming the primary focus for what the next administration can do in the interim?
Well, I think the Securities and Exchange Commission should always and will continue to always play an important role in protecting American investors and promoting innovations when it comes to securities transactions. Unfortunately, this SEC has overreached and inserted itself into all sorts of transactions and, frankly, parts of the market that have nothing to do with securities at all. So I think in a new administration, it will be critical for a new chair of the SEC to recognize that this important innovation, this important technology is going to require cooperation and partnership, not lawsuits and litigation that stretches on and on for years and years. That's what we're focused on at Coinbase. And we're confident that with a new leader at the SEC, with new perspective coming from the White House and a Congress that understands that its voters expect that it makes real progress on things like the FIT21 bill and stablecoin legislation, we're going to see a very different situation for crypto and prospects for crypto in very short order.
So what about Coinbase specifically? How are you feeling about the company's outlook next year, depending on who wins?
Well, for Coinbase, we are very optimistic as we head into the fall of 2024 and into a new year. And we're optimistic in part because we do see progress coming from the Congress and a new approach to cryptocurrency regulation by the SEC and by other agencies of the executive branch. But we're most optimistic because we see real progress in the technology underlying the products and services that we offer to our customers. And we really do see in the coming months and quarters and years a world where blockchain-based technologies with cryptocurrencies powering all sorts of new innovations that we think will improve not just the financial system, but our overall economy in ways that are going to be transformative. And we're eager to play our part in that. But regardless of the legislation and regulation that we think is long overdue and that will come from Congress and the agencies, it's the products, it's the services that are ultimately going to drive this industry forward. And we could not be more excited about that.
Okay, that's all for.
Well, that's awesome. Hopefully, yeah, I mean, they'll do well, I'm sure. Coinbase has no issues regardless. I think they'll be all right. All right, Bitcoin nears all-time high as BRICS nations embrace it. Let's see what Swan Bitcoin over here has got to say. I got to skip the beginning because they play some music that'll get me whacked. But I put a poll in the chat. I just want to know what you guys think. Who's going to win, Trump or Harris? I'm going to leave it up. If you guys feel free to click the button. I can't see who clicks it. It doesn't matter who you vote for. I don't care either way. I just want to know what your guys' thoughts are, and I want to know where this thing's going to be going. All right, let's do it.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Pure Bitcoin Signal. I'm Hurley, Director of Content with Swan. Now let's get into it. Bitcoin has started the week and is ending October very strong as it rips through the $70,000 resistance level and it gets ever closer to the current all-time high of just over $73,000. Canadian Bitcoiners can think about removing their laser eyes as it surpassed 100,000 Canadian loonies today for the first time ever. But no one's actually doing that because everyone knows the Canadian dollars aren't real. Even though Bitcoin is getting closer and closer to reaching all-time highs once again, Google search interest is still very low, not even coming close to the 2017 and 2021 peak hype phase of previous cycles. It seems like the vast majority of people are still missing the point completely, even though more and more of them are starting to see the problem. This chart spells out just how much people are missing the solution. It shows the most important issues for voters by age group, and inflation, the problem, is at the top of all age groups, and the solution, crypto, or more specifically Bitcoin, is at the bottom. Jesus. So why is it that so many people are seeing the problem with our monetary system, but so few are seeing the solution staring them in the face? It seems that Bitcoin's outperformance of everything by a massive margin over the last 10 years isn't enough for people. I think a big part of the problem is recency bias. It's so easy to get wrapped up in Bitcoin in the view of it as a US phenomenon like big tech stocks. What many are missing is that this is a global, non-sovereign asset that trades 24/7 on every continent in the world. And with the US election dominating the North American psyche, it's easy to forget that the market for a free and open global monetary network that runs on the internet is worldwide. And it includes many other powerful nations that are not particularly happy with the current financial system backed by the US dollar. Van Eck's head of digital asset research, Matthew Siegel, was on CNBC yesterday talking about this.
Our bet is that this is a very bullish setup for Bitcoin into the election. We saw the exact same pattern in 2020 where Bitcoin lagged with low volatility. And then once a winner was announced, we had a high vol rally as new buyers come into this market. And that's the great thing about Bitcoin is that every day there's new buyers being born. It's kind of like the video game industry. The olds who hate it die off. The new folks are buying it. And what we think is that once the election result is finalized, Moody's is going to downgrade U.S. sovereign debt. And that could be a catalyst for Bitcoin.
Doesn't gold correlate with the dollar and with M2 as well? And gold and Bitcoin seem like the correlation broke down a couple of times recently.
Bitcoin is a chameleon. Its correlations change over time. It's hard to predict what it's going to be correlated with over the short term, over the long term.
But you really say it's because of the 21 million and it's fixed amount that's out there, therefore the debasement of the currency favors that. I mean, that's...
Yeah, it's a non-U.S. asset. It's an emerging markets asset. And while we were all hyperventilating about the election over the last week, BRICS had a conference in Russia. There's 6 new members of BRICS this year. So BRICS GDP is now greater than the combined GDP of G7. Of the 6 new members, 3 of them, Argentina, the UAE, and Ethiopia, are now mining Bitcoin with government resources. So there is tremendous urgency outside of the U.S. to find a way to circumvent the irresponsible fiscal policy that we've been running here in the U.S. In fact, Russia announced an initiative there. Sovereign Wealth Fund is going to invest in a regional initiative to build Bitcoin mining and AI infrastructure throughout BRICS with an idea of settling global trade in Bitcoin. So, look, someday, I don't know if it's 5 years, 10 years, Putin's going to die. We're going to look to reintegrate some of these countries into the world financial system, and they're going to be trading with Bitcoin. What are we going to be doing?
By far the most interesting part of that clip was when Siegel brings...
He's not wrong. He's definitely not wrong.
The BRICS nations. As he mentions, the growing multinational BRICS alliance held a conference in Russia last week where Bitcoin was a part of the agenda they discussed, particularly using it in international trade to reduce reliance on the US dollar. This obviously aligns with the BRICS' broader goal of de-dollarization, aiming to create a financial system less vulnerable to Western sanctions. Russian officials also proposed that Bitcoin mined domestically could be sold internationally, allowing trade transactions to bypass traditional dollar-based systems. This would enable BRICS nations, especially those facing sanctions like Russia, to conduct trade more independently. Siegel also mentions that many of the BRICS nations are already mining Bitcoin, and with government resources. Seems like kind of a big deal, doesn't it? And speaking of de-dollarization, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen was being asked a question the other day about her level of concern over the long-term strength of the dollar. And you seriously can't make this stuff up. The US Treasury symbol on her podium fell off.
Over a longer time horizon, how concerned are you about the potential impact of the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency?
Was that Biden? Did he just fall off stage?
Let's see.
It seems reality really is much more entertaining than fiction. This international trend of Bitcoin strengthening alongside the dollar weakening is something I think many people are completely missing in the Western world, and one that I expect will become increasingly clear in the coming months and years. The game theory of Bitcoin is unfolding before our very eyes. And yet so many still see it as funny internet money that can be speculated on to maybe get some more fiat. It is so much bigger than that, and smart institutional money is just starting to catch on. And you still have time to front run 95% of the world by getting off zero. If you're still on zero Bitcoin or have friends and family that are, send them to swan.com or download the app by searching Swan Bitcoin at the App Store. Swan has the quickest and easiest...
Oh, fuck. It's going to be shilling stuff. God, that caught me off guard. I don't even know what they said in that whole clip. I just heard the whatever that was fall. The sign, apparently. All right, the Bitcoin price is about to go insane. Let's see what Altcoin Daily's got to say. Guys, hit that like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. Oh, my God.
Bitcoin is soaring today, about to break through all-time highs. And with the price today already above the 2021 highs and just 1% under the 2024 highs we saw earlier this year, the big question is, how much higher could we go? Who's buying so much Bitcoin right now? And what should we expect next? Well, number one, let's just take standing of where we are today. These are the top Bitcoin holders in the world. Satoshi Nakamoto, obviously in first, then Binance, the exchange, then BlackRock, already number 3.
That's crazy. BlackRock's already number 3 above Grayscale. That's nuts. Binance, though, in second. Man. Yeah, Satoshi, if any of those coins move, we're fucking worried. We're gonna be worried. Excuse my language. But that's crazy. Look at this scale. I mean, this list.
And Grayscale, MicroStrategy, U.S. government, etc. What's interesting...
Dude, the Chinese government's 194,000? God damn. Kraken's in 10th place. Robinhood's in 12th place. Interesting. U.S. ETFs combined total, 983,000. Huh.
And what the mainstream media won't report, I will, is that the US spot ETFs are scheduled to hit 1 million Bitcoin held by next Wednesday, and then pass Satoshi by mid-December, all before the ETFs even turn 1 year old, because they've been adding about 17,000 Bitcoin per week. That said, anything can happen.
That's crazy. I didn't even realize that the combined ETFs are almost over what Satoshi has. Wow.
Violent dips along the way, but the trend is pretty revealing. This is the number of Bitcoin bought by ETFs in this last week, and this is the amount of Bitcoin mined in the last week. Demand is outpacing supply. And just today, the most relevant information happening today, huge trading volumes for US Bitcoin ETFs today. BlackRock is already over $2 billion in volume, and the day's not over yet. Also, they're already number 5 out of all ETFs. Are metrics better than what we saw earlier in 2024 or 2021? Well, BTC about 6 months ago, back in March, was $71,000. At that time, Coinbase in the App Store ranked 20th. Today, BTC is around the same price, yet Coinbase in the App Store ranks over 400th. Price is the exact same, but retail isn't back at all. And by the way, make sure you follow us on Instagram. There's a link down below. You'll get exclusive content. And we shared this a few weeks ago.
Dude, I've seen some like horrid shit on Instagram. I don't go on there ever, but I feel like they just let everything slide.
Warning, when you see this, sell immediately. Meaning when Coinbase or popular cryptocurrency apps are trending/ranking number 1 in the App Store, that's a top signal.
I deleted TikTok though, because that's just, ugh.
That means retail is here. Today, Bitcoin is literally 1% from previous all-time highs, and retail's not here, compared to what we've seen in the past. Also, this was huge. It kind of went under the radar, but this has huge implications on markets. Not a lot of other crypto or finance channels are sharing this with you, but big bullish. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink predicting at least another 25 basis point rate cut before the end of the year.
Before the Fed finishes this year, would you expect a 25 basis point rate cut or a 50 basis point, or you don't know?
I think it's fair to say we're going to have at least a 25, but that being said, I do believe we have greater embedded inflation in the world than we've ever seen. We have government and policy that is much more inflationary, whether it's immigration, excuse me, our policies of onshoring. All of this, no one is asking the question at what cost. Right. Historically, we were, I would say, a more consumer-driven economy, that the cheapest products were the best and the most progressive way of politicking. Today, I think we have governmental policies that are embedded inflationary, and with that being said, I think we're not going to see interest rates as low as some people are forecasting.
The more rates are cut, the less weight, the less gravity is on markets, the more prices tend to go up, and the more rates, the higher the rates are in markets, that's gravity to the market. So we like the rate cuts. Also, Cardano collabing with Bitcoin, L2, is such a big deal.
The biggest thing is Bitcoin coming to Cardano. Guys, this was personal for me, and I almost cried when I saw the zero knowledge transaction happen.
If you want a beginner's guide on what this Cardano Bitcoin collaboration means, highly recommend to check out this video. The Cardano CEO is not messing around.
I didn't believe it when I first saw it. So what the Bitcoin operating system people did, this is Ed Anyago's people, and I think Sergio Lerner and a few others had some of the preliminary ideas.
Is that Donald Trump in the background with this shirt up and a burger?
About this, is they figured out how to embed Taproot into the Bitcoin blockchain, an ability to install zero knowledge proofs. Now, what this does is it actually gives a brain and eyes to Bitcoin. What that means is you can now trustlessly connect Bitcoin to other ecosystems. So the whole hybrid application model opens up. There's $1.3 trillion of Bitcoin. There's over 100 million users. It's one of the biggest markets in the world. And Cardano is the native touch point because we're both UTXO systems. It's exceedingly easy to connect these two systems.
So you have two fridges in the background. That's the only thing I can look at is a giant house here. This is crazy. If you guys don't know, Cardano, though, does have a lot of stuff going on in the background. They don't really advertise it, but they're always working on stuff. So I think Cardano is going to do well. They just need to do something impressive.
Systems and develop these two systems. So what does that mean? It means Bitcoin can flow into Cardano, and with Babel fees coming next year, they will be able to pay transaction fees in Bitcoin. Under the hood, ADA is being consumed, but there's markets that, so it creates demand for ADA.
Now, if you're wondering why altcoins aren't going up, well, it's because Bitcoin dominance is going up. It just hit 60%, and actually zooming out to the live chart, we see it's at 60.13. Right before altcoin season in the 2021 cycle 4 years ago, Bitcoin dominance got as high as 73. I personally think we're seeing diminishing returns just because there's way more altcoins now. There's better altcoins and worse, but there's more and better. I think 60% is close to the top of Bitcoin dominance. Now, we could stay here for weeks. We could easily hit 64, 65. But just like altcoin seasons of the past, when Bitcoin went from 73 dominance to 39 in the span of 5 months, I'm personally expecting to see something similar in 2025.
Ondo Global Markets, I think, truly has the potential to transform what people do on public blockchains.
And speaking of altcoins, Ondo's chief strategy officer lays out the future of Ondo Finance and tokenizing the world.
The goal is to take publicly listed securities that have deep liquidity in traditional markets and put those on chain. What gets me personally excited about the Ondo Global Markets initiative and platform is, to your point, once you can start putting these public securities on chain, think of your popular stocks, think of your S&P 500 ETF, think of other types of products, right? You can really start to do things that people have imagined of doing, but have never been able to actually pull off. Like all of a sudden, you can cross-collateralize a position that you have, right? You can have both your crypto and your equities, your stocks in one place, and you can use both assets as a funding source for whatever type of additional position that you want to take. You can think about interesting interplays between the various asset classes. For example, if you say, hey, I have a lot of staked ETH, but instead of accumulating, I just like to put the yield of that into the S&P 500 ETF, or the other way around, you want to put the dividends that you get on your S&P 500 ETF into Ethereum, you can programmatically start thinking about products that facilitate stuff.
Now, if I sounded a little tired in today's video, it's because my brother and I just took a 16-hour flight from Los Angeles to Dubai. We're here for Binance's Blockchain Week. We will be doing a special fireside chat.
That's pretty
cool. I can't get into it now, but pay attention for announcements coming out tomorrow through our Twitter. And like always, see you
in Dubai. Nice. All right. Recap segment of things. Anybody just joining? You guys know the deal. I got to get back daddy duty. But we got Bitcoin at $71,793. It was at 72 at the beginning of the stream, but it's going to be bouncing around the next couple days. I have a feeling up until the election. I wonder if it's going to be a sell the news event. Buy the rumor, sell the news. I wonder if that's going to be the thing. I don't know. What do you think about crypto cloaks? I don't. I'm trying to think. I don't even remember what the hell that is. I do, but I don't. What the hell is that? Let me look it up now. Now I gotta look it up. Oh yes. Yeah. 3D printer guy. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't. Awesome, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he's a good guy. I've talked to him before. Yeah. Ethereum 26.59. We have Solana at $175. ADA's at 35 cents. I think ADA is definitely a decent buy right now. Honestly, all the altcoins are still a good buy. Everything is still far from their all-time highs, and yeah, you can definitely still make some money. Right now, everything is focused on Bitcoin and Bitcoin only. Ethereum All this other stuff will most likely end up pumping. I mean, Bitcoin and Ethereum kind of coincide. They usually will end up pumping together, but realistically, altcoin season, you might see Ethereum pump a little bit, but all the other altcoins will typically do well. Caspa is at a little over 10.5 cents, but it's down 8.63%. My opinion, good buying opportunity. It was the only one listed under currencies for grayscale, which is a big deal. If people don't understand that, then I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you, but people are just getting nervous, man. Everybody is selling everything. Dogecoin has been doing very well with the whole DOGE. It's the Department of Government Efficiency with Mr. Elon Musk. If Trump gets in office, they're gonna rename the a program into that, which is kind of funny. So we're gonna have to see what happens there. But yeah, everything else, I mean, I think just kind of floating sideways as of right now, but things are doing pretty good. CRE is up 23.5%. We got BNB up to 500 or down to $595, down a little bit today, about 2%. BitTensor over here down about 8.3% to $505. This was at $600 a couple weeks ago. So yeah, you're probably going to do pretty well on BitTensor if anybody's into that. Let's see, Litecoin $71, $71.70 to be exact. TRX at 16.7. Let's see, nothing else really that I want to point out, but yeah, everything looks pretty good, guys. Everything looks pretty damn good, and I'm excited to see what happens in the next week or so. Crypto bubbles, biggest loser of the day is actually SPX. Now, it was Caspa at the beginning of this. SPX 6,900 over here, 88 cents. We got Caspa again at a little over 10.5 cents. Then BitTensor's right behind it at 7.6% down to $506. Flashbang Fear and Greed Index is at a 77. Remember, be fearful when people are greedy and be greedy when people are fearful. That's how it is, and that's how I'm looking at it with Caspa as of right now. My opinion. You guys do what you want. I don't care. You're all adults. Do not take financial advice from people on YouTube. That would be your first mistake. But anyways, I'm getting out of here. You guys have a great, fantastic, and safe Wednesday, and I will catch you guys bright and early tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, peace out and have a good day.
Eat shit, Gary.